Yes, I can.
Okay. Okay.
All
right.
Pat is here. Okay, I'll call the meeting to order then. This meeting and all other meetings of this committee are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the media in accordance with Wisconsin statutes so that the citizenry may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting. Roll call. Pam Luther. Greta. Greta's absent. Mary. Here. Barb here. Helen. Here. Pat's on Zoom. Okay. Agenda, has everybody had a chance to look at it?
Oh, thank you.
Someone make a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Can you
Motion.
please tell me who made the motion, who seconded, because I can't tell.
Oh, Mary.
Mary was first, Helen was second. All right.
Try and remember to do this, Pam. Okay. Minutes of the previous meeting. That was from March 20th. Has everybody had a chance to review them?
Yes.
Mary, do you need more time? No. Okay, someone make a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of.
Mary? Second?
Second.
Helen? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Members of the public who wish to address the Nutrition Advisory Council are welcome to do so at this time. Public comment period is limited to no more than 30 minutes, with 3 minutes allotted per person. Nutrition Advisory Council members are not allowed to address or respond to issues raised by the public. Okay, let's move on. Megan?
All right, so we'll go through just a couple updates in regards to our current operations. First, I wanted to highlight that the nutrition program receptionist position has become vacant again. Christine, who you met at our previous meeting, resigned. Oh gosh, I don't remember the exact date, but since her resignation, we've had interviews with a very good candidate pool, and we hope to have an offer within the next couple of days to one of those applicants. So we hope to be fully staffed again very soon.
So in the meantime, for drivers and other questions, do we just contact you, Megan?
Yep. Actually, with Christine's training, we never actually transitioned any of that off of her or onto her. So I've been answering the phones this whole time. And so calls that come in do come in to me. And I do the best to respond to them as my schedule allows.
Oh, you've been putting out the schedule too and everything?
Yes. Doing the very best I can. It's a lot to juggle and whatnot, but I think things have been going okay. So, all right. So that's that update. Then I also have the participation data. So at our March meeting, neither February or March data was available yet. So we're going to look at both of those. And I did make a change on the home delivered meals sheet here. It's highlighted in red. Waiwiga and Fremont used to be one delivery route. And really, the Fremont delivery route also includes a lot of our smaller communities in the southeastern corner of our county. So that also is like Reedfield, South New London, the Caledonia area, all kind of are grouped into one delivery route. That Fremont route is the one that we have a limited term employment nutrition driver helping us with, because it is a very long route in terms of mileage and time commitment. So I started to I felt it's more appropriate to report those numbers out separately, because they're really done by two different groups of people. Waiwiga deliveries are within town and done by our volunteers there, and the Fremont deliveries are kind of a newer arrangement that we're working through. So, yeah, pretty much within home delivered meals, we remain steady. In our March meeting, I highlighted that we had been receiving about 18% higher home delivered meal assessment requests when we compared back to last year. I ran those numbers today and then removed them from the report because we've evened back out. We're pretty much now at a similar pace to what we saw last year. So we had a little bit of a spike in those early couple of months. And you'll see that, we jumped from 209 participants to 225 between February and March. But now things seem to be kind of evening out again. So that's within home delivered meals.
Could I bring up a couple things on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
On the Iola calendar,
Mm-hmm.
we're not used to seeing open drivers, and that's probably why, I don't know if you've been getting calls or all of us calling or what's going on. But I know I completely missed it because it seems like we've got so many drivers. We've always had those positions full.
And it's probably just a little bit of a different way in the way that I schedule versus how Nancy scheduled. So like in the month of April, for the month of May
Yes.
is probably where you saw that. There's actually 5 weeks of May, and the rotation that we kind of have established with drivers is a 4-week rotation. So when we have 5 weeks, Nancy previously would call people and make sure that they were okay to be scheduled an additional extra time in the month. I didn't have time for those phone calls.
I guess I didn't realize that because
Yeah.
Walkers and myself have been doing Tuesdays, and we have always just rotated every Tuesday, and I didn't think we ever were on a 4-week schedule, because some weeks I would do 3 a month, and then I thought she just kept rotating them.
It depends. Some folks are on that kind of a rotation, and others, I believe I scheduled you for that last Tuesday, versus other folks are, their notes that we have specifically will say once on this Wednesday, so it's just that I didn't have all that time to make all the phone calls.
I get it.
And you volunteers are so responsive that I thought, I'll get the calls. And I did. Within 2 days of everybody getting the
I just
calendar.
didn't want everybody
They were
calling
full.
you either. I thought, okay, this is not convenient for whoever's doing this. I thought,
It actually works out pretty good for
I'm
us.
glad, because I was worried, because I knew I couldn't fill those last 3 during the month, and I could have done the other ones, but no, I made switches, so.
And it was fun for some folks because I know Kathy called and she said, oh, I would love to pick up one of those town routes. I never get to see those people. So, it kind of gave people some opportunity to, pick up a little extra. So that's all it is. When we have a position filled again, I'm not sure if we'll continue scheduling that way. When there's a 5th week, send it out and let people just volunteer for that, or if we'll make those calls, we'll have to just kind of see.
Yeah.
But the June calendar looks great, and it should be on its way to you.
All
So,
right,
yeah,
thanks.
Helen.
So is funding secured for Meals on Wheels?
Funding that's a very complicated question. I'll do my best to answer it. So the federal government passed a continuing resolution in, I want to say it was early April. Maybe it was the end of March.
It was March. It was around March 15th. It was
Around
the
March
same time.
15th?
It was around.
Okay. What that continuing resolution means is that all programs, including Older Americans Act programs like the nutrition program, were funded at 2024 funding levels because the federal government couldn't agree on a 2025 budget. So they just said, all right, we're just gonna keep everybody the same, make no adjustments, and now they're working on a 2026 budget.
So we're fine for the rest of this year.
We're fine through the federal fiscal year, which ends at the end of September. We don't anticipate, well, we don't know what that outcome will be. We haven't heard a lot to suggest that there would be huge cuts to the programs, but there's been information out there about other programs, and it's all just kind of hearsay more at the moment. There's no official budget bills or anything that I've seen.
The good news
Is
is
that when their budget is due September? They have to have their final budget for 2026 in September.
No, they can make their budget whenever they want.
It's whenever it happens.
Yeah, so that's why you might have heard like a potential government shutdown was because they didn't have anything agreed upon. And then in the last minute, they just passed what's called a continuing resolution. So we are operating as normal because that's all that we know that we can account on, so.
the important thing to know though is what Megan is talking about is specifically the federal funding.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
state provides funding as well.
Yes.
We receive tax levy for the meals and receive participant donations. So the good news is we have several pots of money that the funding is coming from. So heaven forbid something happened to one of them, it will affect service, but it will not affect service as drastically if we were only working with just a couple of funding sources.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
it makes a difference. We don't want any changes, but it makes a difference knowing that there's several pots that we're drawing from, so.
exactly. So, right now, and I'll highlight this a little bit more later in the agenda, but right now, the state of Wisconsin is working on their next biannual budget. So they budget for a 2-year period, so 2025 and 2027. And that is, their goal is to have something secured by the end of June, but because so much of that budget depends on what happens at the federal level, we're not assured that that will happen in that time frame. So we'll see. But yeah. Were there any other questions before I reviewed the next couple programs? No? Okay. All right. So senior dining, congregate meals, no real big changes here. Participation across the meal sites remains pretty much the same. Again, just highlighting Clintonville continues to really struggle in terms of getting people to come in and enjoy meals there. We are about to enter into the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program season that starts the first week of June, and we had a lot of people pick up vouchers in Clintonville last year. It didn't really result in a lot of people coming to the meal site, even though we emphasize telling them about the meal program and things like that. So we're gonna again try that, and we'll see what comes of it. But they respond at least very well to that program. So I'll flip over then to the Bistro 60. Nothing really interesting to note here. Similar data as months past. Remember, February is a short month, so the numbers look a little bit lower, but there's quite a few less days when you compare that to January and March. We have about 655 folks who've returned their 2025 registrations for the Bistro 60 program, and that's about half of those that were registered last year. but again, sometimes people are just pretty slow. I think we might pick up in the summertime when people are interested in getting out and about more. So we'll see how things kind of play out over the next couple of months.
I do wonder what the advertising positive effects of the advertising has on our participation numbers, with people knowing and being reminded that it's out there. Just something interesting to kind of keep in the back of our minds through the grant that we're working with through the federal government for the Bistro 60 program. Megan wrote in her grant proposal advertising as part of it, which was wonderful because our budget for the meals every year goes as much as it can for meals, and we don't budget extra funding for advertising. So that was an opportunity, a nice opportunity that we had that we don't otherwise give to ourselves. We could write it in our budget, but we don't write it. We haven't been doing that. As long as I've been doing the program, we haven't used money for that.
Yeah. And it is one of those things that we haven't been issuing vouchers to folks unless they have registered for the 2025 year, but that doesn't mean that they can't use any vouchers that they have left. So we kind of designed it that way so that there's a trigger point where people kind of have to communicate with us. But for many folks, they may just not have reached that point where they're at 0 vouchers yet. So I'm not worried about it. It's going well like it has in years past. These numbers aren't all too different from last year. So anyway, if it's all right, I'm just going to flow into the next agenda item.
So, I know your time is limited, so have you been able to make any changes on menus?
Menu changes take a long time to design. Our contracted nutritionist is working on them. I also know that Hotel Fremont has indicated they want to make more changes to their menu, but I haven't gotten their information yet. So they're all just in the works. There's nothing really in terms of like a rollout time for it, but it's being worked on. Okay. All right, I'm gonna flow into a couple other updates about the Bistro grant. In particular, the tasks that are in our grant plan. So Melissa and I attended the mandatory grant conference last week. So we were in Des Moines for a few days there. It was a very nice conference. They had a lot of really good material. That will be the last time that we are attending, as the grant does expire at the end of July. In addition to that, there's a couple things left from our 3-year plan that are going to be the next thing to be worked on. One of those was a website redesign to the goal of that website redesign is to create better accessibility to the program, a little bit more sustainability, to have this nice platform where people who are computer savvy to find our information. We've been really pleasantly surprised as we've introduced things to our current website by how many seniors do find and reach out to us through that. But the county website itself is a huge maze from all of the different departments that are there and all the information. So we are working on a standalone platform where people can more easily find not just nutrition program information, but ADRC information. So that's in the works, and it has been for a little while. We have a company that we're working with, and we hope to have that ready to roll out by the end of July, but we'll just kind of have to see. We have a meeting coming up in a couple of weeks to kind of see what their initial design looks like and kind of get to see some of that fun stuff.
Along with, so the funding, the federal funding that we got for the grant for the Bistro is going to be funding the nutrition side of things. But in addition to that, we're taking an opportunity to revamp the ADRC as a whole and the website for all of our services. So the grant is not paying for all of the website. There will be other programs that will be contributing to the cost of the overall cost of the website redesign.
Yeah.
So it'll be really nice for a number of different programs. So
Yeah, we're very excited for it.
yes, yes, we are.
We have big dreams.
I agree with you. The county website, it's just layer after layer after layer after
Yeah.
layer. And you get into that, and then you go to that. and then-
Yeah, yeah. And we've been limited on that platform about how much we can improve that. There's just, I understand there's a lot trying to be represented on one site, and it's just makes it very complicated. So, but though I would say in addition to that, which I'm thankful to have some outside help to do, but we have one other huge task left in our 3-year grant plan, and that's the collection of our participant data that we ask for every year, so that we can complete our 3-year data comparison. So just to refresh everyone's memory, there's that registration form. Those questions are required by our federal and state oversight. We use some of those questions in our evaluation of how the program helps people. Like, for example, we look at the nutritional risk questions that they answer, and we hope that we see improvement over years of participation. But there's other data points that we have been working to collect throughout the grant period, because we want to show that this type of dining model is successfully helping people. So like that's our social isolation and loneliness questions that we have. We have some satisfaction survey type questions in there. So every year we've sent those out and collected them back. We don't require them of everybody. We just ask those who are willing to participate to send that information. So what that means is we're going to be sending those out within the next couple of weeks and working on a lot of that data management. It will be probably one of the inaugural projects for our new receptionists as they get trained, is this type of data collection, which they will do once and not have to do anymore in the future. But yes,
What is your deadline on the update?
Ideally, we would have all of our data collected and analyzed by the end of August. Because within the grant schedule, we would have to have like our wrap-up report done by the end of August. That's also my goal, because I will be going out on medical leave the first week of September. So, but if that doesn't happen, there's an opportunity for us to ask for what's called a no-cost extension, which is no additional money, but extra time to finish up these grant projects. So we may do that because we were hindered quite a bit by some of these unexpected things, like being
Staffing.
short-staffed for
That's been a
3-4
huge
months.
thing.
It's been
Right.
huge impact to my ability to spend time on the things that I'm supposed to be working on. So, yeah, that is all there. And then I had mentioned in response to Helen's question, those other projects that we've talked about over the months are all continuing to be in the works through the contracted nutritionist, as well as her and I go back and forth on a couple of things. And then I feel like there was one other thing I was gonna.
You mentioned advertising.
Yeah.
Could I ask some questions about
Sure.
that? Advertising nowadays is so different than it was, when we all had newspapers that came to our house. What form of advertising are you finding, or have you read about, that is the most effective in reaching the different, we're obviously dealing with our age group. Do we have any idea what's working? Because I literally feel like I'm lost most of the time trying to find sources of even obituaries or anything. It's like you have to go online and specify what you're looking for. It seems like otherwise, I don't know where to go.
So we tried,
The Valpak.
yeah, that's what I would say was our most effective. We did billboards in key areas across the county. We did radio advertising. We did things through the buyer's guide, you know, that free publication that everybody or many people in the county receive. But we of course had to pay to have our information put in there. And then what we truly found the most success with was when we did those targeted postcards. So we worked with a company, we said, these are the demographics that we're looking for. So we identified we want households with residents over the age of 60 in these zip codes that cover our county. They were able to kind of narrow that down based on, I think they get their information from census data perhaps. And then they facilitated the design and mailing of those postcards. Hugely successful, hugely expensive.
Yeah, everything is,
Yeah.
the ads are high and
Yeah.
buyers, everything's so expensive, and then
Yeah.
you're effectively reaching them. That's why I was wondering how you're gonna decide where
Oh,
this advertising money is going to be best spent.
A thought I just had though is maybe advertising isn't something that we plan every year. Maybe advertising is something that we have a 3-year plan for or 2-year plan for, that we're able to offset this cost in another area to make advertising costs available. Because I think that we need to get the information out there. People, word of mouth, I think that did
Oh yeah,
that
has
was
sustained
successful.
us, right? Because we
Yes.
did those postcards in year 1. And in year 1, we saw a baby little program of like 150 participants grow to 500-600, and that was remarkable growth for us, way more than we anticipated that quickly. And then year 2 and 3, we still continue to grow. You know, our numbers continue to get bigger, and I think a lot of that has been word of mouth. But if we were to like chart it all out, we're seeing more of a plateau. So Melissa's thought of, you know, every couple of years, renew that energy out there, I think makes sense. Again, really expensive. We have lots of programs that are deserving of advertising, not just one. And unfortunately, seeing that the postcard was most effective means that we would really have to target like what we're gonna send out this time. Because there's no way we could highlight all 10, 12
But
programs.
with
that
this with this money you're getting, is that specific towards just meals, or are you talking that's the whole aging and disabilities?
It is, we're talking about our funding that we receive just for the nutrition
Okay,
program.
Yeah.
So
I thought
the-
that's what we were talking.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the funding comes in and there are many allowable services that the funding can be used for.
Right.
And we don't spread ourselves too thin on spreading out the money into those different categories, even though we can, we don't.
I thought
Because we
that's
want
what you
to
meant.
put it into food.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I have 2 ideas again. One is that county newsletter. When you investigated, you found that whoever was reporting from Stevens Point was just picking things out for the Portage County,
The county post you're talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
for the ADRC.
yeah.
So who reports for Wapaka or New London or, you know, the Fremont area? If your office, I know it's another task, were to decide, oh, for 1 week in, say, June, we're going to promote this because it's this, meaning one of the ADRC services, like maybe not so much transportation, but food service, like where can you go, congregate, meal dining, be with your friends, eat here, a little information about it, the bistro program. And did something once a month. I don't think there's gonna be a cost from the newspaper because they're receiving that from their reporter, whoever their reporter is.
And I did look, and Robert Cloud is the publisher for all of these
Mhm,
papers,
mhm.
and so if he's in favor of doing that for Stevens Point, who's now in the
I think he retired.
Mm.
I think he retired. Don't quote me on that. I think he retired.
Google it.
So my other idea, because I wouldn't give up on that one,
Yeah, I know. Mhm.
many towns have their own newsletter.
Yeah, we do.
So in our town's newsletter, Town of Caledonia, through the planning commission, because publication of ADRC services is part of our comprehensive plan, because we have a lot of senior citizens in that township. And
We
they're
all do.
yeah, so therefore, the town board told us we could have space in every newsletter. We could not do it for the spring newsletter because they had so much with the pipeline and the new park and all these
Sure.
things.
Mhm.
But I know that we're gonna get room for the fall newsletter again.
Mhm.
And so I would look at those Medicare appointments and also the nutrition
Mhm.
and ask if we can have two separate articles.
Sure.
And I would think that we could do that. The other way in which we publicize getting people to appointments for looking at their Medicare Part D and their insurance, Medicare insurance,
Mhm.
was to just write up something about the churches and ask the churches to, and post it in the local churches. And that seemed to bring in a few people. Also posting it at the libraries,
Mhm.
public libraries. So there's the Fremont and the New London.
So what if we created something and we asked for your support as committee members to help us disseminate that information? So if we created a flyer with education on, well, let's just say the Bistro 60 program, and we gave it to you and you contacted the clerks in the different townships.
That's what it is the clerks make the
We don't have a
decisions.
town, we don't have a newsletter, townwide.
Well, you should get, ours started
You
because
have
we
a
got a new
you have a
person.
public library, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
people
Mhm.
go there.
Mhm.
You have like an opera house that has activities, so posting it somewhere around there. Even the gas stations, I would bet,
Maybe.
places that have Bistro 60 programs, since they already know about them, might be willing to have something posted, even if it's not related to nutrition.
Potentially, sorry, Barb.
We used your flyer, and our clerk just made it more for our community center. So those are
We have a lot
two-
of bulletin boards too in the office where people could get that information.
Mhm. We do utilize the libraries already. We all do utilize the churches. We also are really cognizant of not overburdening one way of sending out information because we don't necessarily want to burn our bridges. So we've tried those before, but the newsletters are an interesting idea. Do you know, Barb, is it also the planning commission in Iola who would be in charge of that, or is somebody else?
Laura's our clerk
So
and.
just maybe try the clerk's office.
And I wrote see Laura about adding info to the newsletter. It's
Okay.
we only get our billing every 3 months, but I mean, it's another source. It would be every 3, I mean, there could just be a little book. It could be about Meals on Wheels and getting it, or it could be about more drivers. I mean, we've got a lot of them in Iola, but there's always room for more.
Mhm,
So, I mean, I think she'd be fine with it because we write blurbs about the dog park and the activities and,
Mhm.
you know, I mean, I think it wouldn't be constant, but it could be, like we said, it's only 4 times a year that it goes out. But I know that there's information boards too, and I could do a better job of putting all of our information in one spot so people can find it.
So in
The libraries are good though too. I see it all the time that they've got
Yeah.
your books and brochures.
So for the public library in New London, when I took in the flyer, because many people who use the New London Library live in the town of Caledonia.
Yep.
And I gave them the flyer and they said, oh, I didn't know we were having this here.
Yeah, I remember, you're talking about Jennifer's meetings, right?
Yes.
I remember she mentioned there was some sort of weird something. I don't remember exactly what the deal was with New London.
There are a lot of different, I use that library, there are a lot of new staff members there.
Yeah.
And some retirements, and I think it is just,
This is gonna happen
if
here
there
too.
was consistency in their staffing, we all have that trouble.
Yeah.
The person who needed to know about it, because I wondered, like, how could you have a confidential discussion about your Medicare Part D and your medical insurance when the children's area is very crowded, the computer area is very crowded, and there's no space in the stacks. That almost needed to be set up for a room downstairs, but who would even know it was there if there's not a sign? And letting people know this is happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I know I'm not sure exactly what her plans are, but she'll be doing the same thing for open enrollment, and I know that she learned some things last year was her first time, so.
Right.
Yeah.
But we can help.
Yeah,
to make
exactly.
sure that she has business.
So I think what sounds like would be a good plan, and I think this is doable, given that we're gonna just be meeting every other month now, is what if we brought to these meetings some flyers and stacks that you can take some with you and just put them wherever you can find in the communities to help us. So whether that's talking to the clerks and giving them the information or just putting them on the boards.
And we could
Can-
also provide digital copies of the flyers.
That is
Yes,
really
that
good,
too.
because then they can size it to wherever it fits.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, well, maybe try that for the next couple of meetings and then check back in and see how it's going and what we're able to do, so, okay. Is it okay if I go to the advocacy update?
I
Yes.
think you've done a
Okay.
good job.
All right, I have quite a bit I actually wanna share, so in your packets, I included, just on Tuesday of this week, Melissa and I both attended the Aging Advocacy Day at the Capitol. So I brought back the information that we got at that event. I wanted to share it with you. I also included, just so you could check it out, like what the schedule of the day looked like. The event is open to anyone in the states. So there were quite a few older adults there. There was quite a few staff there. There was all sorts of, I mean, I think they had close to 300 people this year, which was really the biggest one that I've been to. So as part of that day, legislative visits are arranged for each person depending on where they live. So for example, Melissa and I both live in the same Senate district, but we live in a different assembly district. So we met together with a group to go to our senator's office. That was Senator Rachel Cabral Guevara. And we met with her staff there and were able to highlight a lot of the, our issues, which I'll talk about in a second. And then we broke off into smaller groups to go visit our assemblymen's offices. And so it was a really positive day overall. Each year, about 4 to 5 issues are chosen to be highlighted at this event. Usually the Wisconsin Aging Advocacy Network has anywhere from 10 to 15 issues that they're highlighting throughout the course of a year. But they, 10 to 15 is way too much to talk about in a 1-hour meeting with your legislators. So they choose 4 to 5 and provide some education, and then encourage people to talk about which issues they feel most strongly for. So our group talked about 2 things. We talked about investing in ADRCs across the state. And if you have time later to read through, there's a lot of wonderful explanation and data as to why that's a vital need right now in the state. Basically, ADRCs have not received increases in their base funding to keep up with the increase in population, to keep ADRCs staffed adequately to help their communities. So that's kind of the impetus for that issue.
Did you talk about what that increase is? I mean, because every day, I think they said just yesterday alone, the increase in number of senior citizens went up 22%.
Yes, there's
How long is this sustainable?
Next 5, the spike is going to occur. The significant spike is they're estimating going over the next 5 years. So from 2025 to 2030 is going to be the steepest increase that we're going to see. But we are going to continue to grow through 2050.
the senior population.
Yes,
I-
yes.
It's shocking, but I mean, let's face it, every day there's just more of us and more of us and more of us, and we
Yeah.
don't wanna die.
Yeah. So it was a really good conversation. We have a lot of that data in there. Our senator's office in particular mentioned support for older adults as one of their key desires. They talked about was it home-based community services?
Home-based community
Yes.
services, yep.
Home-based community services, all of which, like, ADRCs are a connector point to home-based community services. They're that entryway into many different things for older adults. And there's lots of other information in here as well about all of that. We also highlighted, of course, the Meals on Wheels / home delivered meals need. This has been highlighted. I'm very grateful it's been highlighted for the last 4 years. So our legislators continue to hear about this. And we talked a lot about how Meals on Wheels and home delivered meals, again, the funding does not keep up with our population. The program is a vital support to helping people age at home and delay their nursing home or assisted living entry, and things like that. So again, very positive conversation. We're really happy to be able to highlight and share. The group that we were with had quite a few folks from Waushara County present as well. They brought some testimonials. There was a really sweet board member who talked about how the program helped her 95-year-old stepfather, and has really made a huge difference for their family. So really good event. And again, it was very much worth doing. So I also, as you kind of go through, there's a few other pages in here that talk about some of the different things that you could do post Aging Advocacy Day. So I wanted to share that with you all because even though we weren't able to attend, there are still things you could do to help share this information and support it. And it's kind of reviewed in your packet here. But anyway, that was the day. Any questions about it?
Do you also have any information from Janet Sander who sends out material from Portage County. I don't know if you have the packet because I haven't read further.
No, I don't have anything from that newsletter where I've pulled things before. Janet does organize this day. So this was kind of
She
her
put this together.
her focus, I guess, this month.
Yeah.
Let's see. So she talked quite a bit about the state budget process. Like I mentioned, the state budget, our joint finance committee is meeting actively right now because their desire is to put together a state budget by the end of June. Whether or not that happens is a little bit undecided at this point. But so it's a really wonderful time to talk to our legislators about the issues that we care about as they are trying to find a consensus. She did highlight in her educational piece on Tuesday that Wisconsin is a divided government, which means we have a Democratic governor and we have a Republican, is that House or legislative branches, I think?
Legislative.
Yeah, legislative branch. So, but her words of wisdom on these older adult issues is so many of them are bipartisan. They don't lean one versus the other, which means that there's always an opportunity to find common ground regardless of which party your legislator might be member to.
I'm sure we're coming to that section of the program where we get to speak of things we went to, but I did attend one of our meetings. We had one in Iola and it was very well attended, but it was only
Nice.
1 hour long and we had our state senator and our state representative.
Yes.
At the same meeting, but it was only 1 hour long and oh my goodness sakes, it's just not enough time because every person in the room came with their own personal thing that they wanted to work on, but it's eye-opening. So please attend all of those that you can.
Those town hall meetings.
Because this one guy just lets his negativity roll out of his mouth and I'm just thinking, you don't represent me. I mean, it's so sad.
Oh, that didn't come from a community member, that came from.
State senator, he was so awful.
Which senator was it, Barb? Do you remember?
He's out of, he's from he does the Iola one. He's
Okay.
the northern Wisconsin. His name is Tom Zeck. He's from Mosinee. And he's been in there too long. The new one was a representative and he was but I think he too was sitting there like this, trying to back away from being associated with this guy. He called children and adults from Milwaukee parasites more than once.
Wow.
And we were all so appalled. It was frustrating.
Wow.
So please attend those meetings so that you get firsthand information because that's not what the paper reported.
The other thing that I would say, because before I came here for this meeting, I was at Farm Service Agency County Committee meeting. So I serve representing the Fremont, kind of Wyega, town of Caledonia area. And it is so we are about farming issues. And it is so important to be in contact with our federal legislators. And for us, one of the group of our committee works with the Farm Bureau. And so he has gotten us a contact. So that lobbyist said, lobbyist for the Farm Bureau said that they have a chance to meet with federal legislators every week. And so we could also piggyback on that type of, so people out in a rural area, you can be on a farm, but you can have all of these issues because there are a lot of aging farmers and a lot of poverties. And I wrote to our newest representative, but everything is wonderful.
Everything's wonderful.
Everything
in
is
this world.
wonderful, and I don't know how he can represent us in Washington when he doesn't he
not
doesn't seem
interested
to
in
have a
what we have
clue.
to say.
Mhm.
And I think
Everything's
we just
wonderful.
write anyway, because I believe it's the number of emails and the number of phone calls, and
Mhm.
when the numbers equal, get the attention, then I think there might be some voting.
Yeah.
I don't know, I get the same impression you do.
The newsletter is just like,
Glorious, glorious, glorious.
Mhm.
Anyway, sorry.
That's
Sidetracked.
okay. Anyone else have we've just kind of naturally flowed into the reports of other meetings attended. Was there anything else anyone wanted to share?
Yes, couple of things. Um, So Tammy's name is no longer on the list of members for our committee.
She is not 100% official until the next county board meeting, but she's invited to the meeting.
But here's what happened.
Oh, okay.
This came yesterday.
Okay.
Hi, Barb. We are moving to Neenah in the next 6 months or so I'm not gonna be able to be on the committee. And I told her to come see me at another meeting that I'll be having, and I said I'll let ADRC know. We're still going to need a new rep.
Mhm.
Any names you can give us would be helpful. I figured since she knows people, maybe she could think of
Mhm.
somebody. And she wrote back, I will. And then she sent me a picture of her foot in a cast
Oh.
and said, this is what happened. Ugh. And her friend that she lives with lost his job after almost 20 years. And so he got hired at Custom Marine in Neenah, and he started last Monday, so they're excited to be moving. So this all came up after we had decided that she would be a good person to have in our committee.
Oh, shoot. Darn it.
Shoot
That's-
is right, so
yes.
we can withdraw her name.
Okay.
And again, she said she'd keep in mind and try to come up with some names for us, so that was one of the things.
Okay.
Oh, where did I
Yeah, the wheels of things move slow.
I know.
So, but that's all right.
Okay,
I'm
And
glad
then-
for the meetings that she has been able to attend.
and then I had one of our drivers. Oh, I've only had one. They come to me because I'm there and I'm all over the community, so they see me and they been me here. And she said that she feels like her road is getting too large in town. She was up to
Mhm.
17 or 18 people,
Yeah, Iola's gotten big.
which we like.
Mhm.
And I'm so glad that those Tuesday, Thursday people do that every Tuesday, Thursday, because it sure eliminates the extra time
Mhm.
by going so far out in the country. I don't know if you've got an answer, but I just wanted to run it by you that
Mhm.
I did have one person. And I don't see it all the time on my Tuesday route, but I've driven like on a Friday and I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa. I did not realize that I was going that many miles and seeing that many people. And I love it because I don't see all those people on a regular basis. So I enjoyed it thoroughly, but I don't always work on Fridays.
Yeah, Iola has been on my radar to brainstorm, and it's been on my radar for a little while.
Yeah.
I don't have a great idea.
Well, I'll talk to her. I'll just say to her, help me come up with some ideas because we've got that other southern route now where we could almost, or that's so far apart. We can almost have just a driver doing them maybe, but I know some of them get meals every day.
Yeah. So I have also kind of been holding off a little bit because usually in the summertime, we see a lot of people leave the program because weather is so nice and they're doing better and they don't feel that they need meals as much. So I kind of wanted to see if we started to see a shrink versus a grow. But it is on my to-do list, and I will work on it as I can. So if you hear from anyone else, please let me know.
I will, and I'll try and help you think of a solution too.
Yeah. we have wonderful volunteers in Iola, but I don't think we have a big enough group to do a bigger than 2-day a week split like we have now. And it would be very difficult to rearrange the people we have into,
I get that.
yeah, you know what I mean? So I wish we could almost come up with 2 routes 5 days a week, but we would need to get some more volunteers to do that. So anyway,
Okay.
it's not necessarily your problem, but just let me know if you
I
hear from
know, I
anyone
just-
else.
I just thought of
And
it, and
we'll-
I try to make notes. Okay,
Yeah.
this is from this morning. I have to make notes or I can't remember anything.
Yeah. So, all right.
Anyone else? Input? You have any in- No?
Okay. Well then, yeah, we would need a motion for
A motion to adjourn?
I second it.
Okay,
Whatever.
a first and a second, all right, we'll reverse the order.
first was Helen,
Yep.
Pat, and second was Mary.
And our next meeting is Thursday, July 17th, 1:30, right here.
Yes,
Thanks, everybody.
yes. Got it?
Yeah.
Thank you for this packet.